All right, we'll go ahead and call this Tooele City Planning Commission meeting to order this Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024, at the hour of 7 p.m. here in City Council chambers. First item on our agenda tonight is a Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 2 on our agenda is our roll call. Commissioner Hammer?
Here.
Commissioner Proctor?
Here.
Commissioner Sloan?
Here.
Commissioner Robinson?
Here.
Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I am also here. Let's please excuse Commissioner Dunn and Councilman Hanson. Recognize Councilwoman Manzione, staff members Hanson, Hall, Agard, and Baker. Number 3 on our agenda is a public hearing and a decision. It's a consideration of a request for a conditional use permit approval by Evergreen Preschool and Child Care to allow an in-home child daycare business for up to 16 children at 529 Park Hill Drive in the R17 zoning district. Mr. Hall.
Thank you. As you said, this is a conditional use permit for a preschool and daycare. There is at this property already an in-home daycare, residential child care business in operation. They would like to increase their numbers to the 8 to 16 children number. That requires conditional use permit approval by the Planning Commission. That's the nature of the application tonight. The property's highlighted there on Park Hill Drive. It is in the R112 zone. As you saw in your packets, they've actually provided the documentation from the state that they can meet those kinds of requirements for child care. There's all kinds of state and county requirements, health department requirements as well. They can show us that they can meet those, but the business license won't be issued unless we issue a Planning Commission's recommended conditional use permit. They did provide the outline of the house and some other information. I only included this where the patio and the kitchen and living room, et cetera, are. Staff's concerns revolved mainly, if I can go back a slide, around traffic in and out as people drop off kids. As the numbers increase from 4 or 5 kids to 8 to 16, traffic starts to become a concern. How do you do this without blocking people's driveways or causing issues? There's ways to manage that, maybe drop-off time staggering, things like that. We'd like them to work with staff and create some sort of traffic plan as they do the business license, if they're approved, in order to mitigate any impacts from that. That's one of our conditions of approval. The others revolve around meeting those requirements for state and county and continuing to meet them. We have a chance every year at renewal of business license to make sure those things are all still in place and to comply with our requirements for home occupation licenses. They have indicated that their drop-offs and pickups could be limited in hours. We've included that with item 3. The property also should be fenced to make sure kids aren't getting out. Getting out sounds like they're animals. Some kids are animals. Some kids specifically spring to mind right now, but I'm not going to name names. Anyway, there should be fencing of properties. They're all my kids, basically. And then fire and building codes change for things like this. When you have occupant loads like this, that's all part of those state and county requirements that they'll need to meet. So we are recommending approval, but subject to those conditions. We'll need to work with them a little bit as they try to get a business license. So do you have any questions for staff about this item?
Let's bring this back to the commission for questions for staff. Looks like there are none.
Okay. Thank you.
This item does require a public hearing. Is the applicant here tonight? Okay. I will go ahead and open the public hearing on this particular item. This is the conditional use permit for Evergreen Preschool and Child Care. If you would, please approach the podium. Do we have a... Will you
My name
please...
is Carol Ripley, and I live at 554 Park Hill Drive, just right across the street and one house up. As far as coming up with a traffic plan, it's already too late for that because we have traffic issues with Tamarack Drive up above us. They currently route down onto Park Hill Drive to get down to Skyline Drive to exit the area. It's just the natural flow of the traffic on our streets in that area. I've almost been hit twice with people coming out of that driveway of the house currently mentioned already, and I can just imagine what it's going to be when we have 3 times the traffic load at that particular house. There's also 4 grown older children at that house right now that ride bicycles in the street right there, and it's right in front of our house. We have to deal with that as well. Adding more children to the mix isn't going to help anything. It's not just the traffic pattern, it's a hazard, it's a safety issue, and I worry about the children. And it's not just their children. There's several more houses there that have young children as well. I don't want to be the one that hits one of them. We're not just talking about somebody having more children in their home. We're talking about little kids. We're talking about 3-year-olds. There's one, the person across the street from us, she has one that's 18 months, 2 years old. Then she's got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. The family that's asking for the license, theirs are about 10 to 15. There's, 4 of them in that age bracket. The rest of us are responsible for watching out for all these children, and now we're going to add 10 more? Please don't do that to us. Don't put the responsibility on us. The traffic is too much on that street already. There is a very large child development center being built, and it's already established right down there on the corner of Skyline and Main Street. A large one. We don't need a 15-children center right there in our neighborhood on that street. Please don't do that to us.
Thank you.
My name is Dave Ripley, same address, 554. I just wanted to add some other things. One is, it was a shock. We just received a letter from the city stating about this business, and the people that wanted to do this never went around to the neighbors and saying, hey, they want to start up a business. I thought that was kind of very concerning. They should have at least talked to the neighbors and say, hey, this is what I would like to do. Another thing is, when I bought that house, or had our house built on that street, there were CCRs assigned to that neighborhood, and one of them is there's to be no businesses to be started up, and along with a bunch of other stuff. So that's very concerning. And another thing is, what is their plan? I mean, right now, how many kids do they have? I don't even know when they actually started their business, and all of a sudden we get this letter saying that they're wanting to all of a sudden increase. So how many are in their business right now? How many kids are they watching? And then that's another concern is, why aren't they even here to discuss this, to tell us what their plans are, what are they want to, how much are they want to increase? Are they wanting to increase up to the maximum of 16? Or they want to do 4 or 5 and then plans later? That's another concern right there. But the main thing is, I don't think it's a good thing. I mean, especially with a brand new business. I mean, I know they're in the process of building a new daycare down at the corner of Skyline and Main Street. I'm not sure what their plans are when they're wanting to actually get opening up. So that's another thing to look into too, because I know it's a very big building, and I'm sure they're wanting to have as many kids in that. But and I understand they want to make some money and be helpful to whoever they're watching, but the neighborhood is not set up to have a business like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ripley. Okay, seeing no one else approach the podium, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this particular item and bring it back to the commission for further questions or comments. Hearing or seeing none. Did you have something? Sorry, I thought I heard somebody talking down there.
And maybe we ought to, probably for the Ripley's benefit as much as anybody else, and to remind ourselves what our requirements are regarding conditional use permits. Without getting into the statute and all that other stuff, essentially in the state of Utah, a conditional use permit must be granted unless there are some things that can't be mitigated. Safety is one, which is why the staff will have to work with them as far as coming up with a pick-up, drop-off traffic type of plan, trying to mitigate that. Other than that,
we really don't have a lot of power to deny conditional use permits by statute. And Mr. Becker can probably expound on that better than I'm saying it, but that's probably the Reader's Digest version. And obviously the staff is going to be working on that. If there's something that can't be mitigated from a safety standpoint, and your comments have been taken, then it won't work. But at this point, we're kind of bound, and I'm in that neighborhood as well. And we're somewhat bound by statute as to what we can and can't do on a conditional use permit.
Commissioner, I'll just confirm what you stated. The statutes from the Utah State Legislature, as well as from the Utah courts, have indicated that where a legislative body has determined that uses are appropriate with conditions in an area, then the use must be allowed. So the exercise for tonight isn't to allow the business or deny the business. It's to look at what negative impacts this business could have, or this use could have, on neighboring properties. Jared has examined that closely and has put his findings in the staff report and given you his recommendations for what to address. The speakers have mentioned some anticipated negative impacts. So your role is to look at those, see if you find evidence that those are in fact anticipated effects, and see if you can come up with conditions to mitigate those. That's an important word, Commissioner Sloan, because state statute doesn't allow us to come up with conditions to eliminate, but just to make things better. So, yeah, that is the exercise tonight. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's a useful reminder of what our role is in conditional use permits.
And even though we have the responsibility to approve with those negative impacts mitigated, that doesn't prohibit us from asking for more information and tabling it, or asking for things that we want to see before we approve it if we think that more things need to be said to fully mitigate anything that we observe.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's totally within your discretion to ask for more information so you understand better the potential impacts and what conditions there could be. You cannot punish or deny someone simply because they haven't come. They've done everything they've been required to do and have presented it in some detail to the staff, and tonight is staff's job, so there's no inference we can make about them not being here. But you do have discretion to feel comfortable that you have the information before you vote.
And the reason I said that, Mr. Chair, if I can continue.
Yes, please.
I don't like the traffic thing. I would really like to see a traffic study before we approve it, just based on the fact that there's some concerns there with the way that road is shaped and where that house is placed on the corner. In addition to that, with 16 kids, I didn't see anything about additional employees and where they're going to park. And so there's some information that's lacking that makes me feel comfortable about mitigating all of those safety concerns, besides just asking that they work with the staff. Not that I don't trust staff, but
Let me throw one more at you, topography. That's a very steep
yeah,
hill.
it is. You're right. And then you drive around there, you can see things, and you can't see things.
We've closed the public hearing, so please. Please just give us a minute to discuss this. Thank you.
So that's my concern. I'd like to see some numbers and some concrete, well, not necessarily concrete, even nebulous plans. I'd like to see a plan.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? All right, Mr. Ripley, go ahead and give us your question. Please stand up at the podium.
If this was approved, is it only temporary for just that house and those people, or is it permanently assigned to that piece of property? That's another thing to consider too.
Travels with the land.
I'm sorry?
It stays with the land.
It stays with the land. So that's another consideration to take into, because that would impact the property for everybody around, you know. It could impact their prices, you know. So that's something to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Ripley.
Commission, on that point, when you approve a conditional use permit, it does allow that use on that property regardless of how many times it may change hands. The permit, however, is designed specifically for this applicant. So if this applicant were to move or go away and someone else wanted to do it, they would still need a permit, but they would
The use
get
would be
it.
there.
Yes.
All right, any other further questions, comments? All right, Commissioner Robinson, did you have a motion?
Sure.
If you don't, I will.
I'd like to move that we table this item until we see a plan to manage the traffic and drop off and pick off and parking and specifically, I mean, I don't want to necessarily see a real live traffic study, but I would like to have a discussion about the safety factors around that curve there and with the slope that goes down to Skyline especially. It's just, I'd like to table that until we see those questions a little bit more securely answered.
I got a motion to table it till we see a traffic plan,
I'll
a
second
drop-off
that.
plan, and staff as well. Is that what you're looking for, Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
Instead of passing it and then seeing the study, let's see the study and then
Right.
revisit.
okay. And a second from Commissioner Anderson. Any other discussion before we take this to a vote?
And I read we have to table it with either a date or a condition. Is that condition sufficiently stated, Roger, that it holds water? Requesting that more information?
Yeah, I'm less concerned about that than Jim Bolser was.
Okay.
The legal concern is that you can't table something for the purpose of avoiding a vote or delaying the applicant.
That's not,
But you can
okay.
just table it until you get more information.
Yay.
Okay, if that suffices, we'll take this to the table for a vote then. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This one is tabled at a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. And the information for us as staff is clear what we need to figure out with the applicants, and we'll be back when we feel like we have what you need to see.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Hall.
you.
Appreciate that. Number 4 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing and a decision. This is a consideration of a request for a conditional use approval by the Tooele City Fire Department to allow the construction of an 80-foot communications tower located at 145 East, 1000 North in the LI Light Industrial Zoning District. Mr. Hall.
All right, thank you. So this is Fire Station number 3, which is under construction. And the conditional use is specific in this instance for a tower. This is the property that you're probably familiar with. It is in the LI zone. The tower will be placed here in kind of a crook of the building. That is a depiction of the tower and its height relative to the fire station that's under construction. And then just as a matter of showing you kind of what it looks like in real context, that's a tower that's at the police station across the street. The lattice communication towers are not as obtrusive sometimes as the monopoles. But anyway, they're that height of 80 feet, that's an 80-foot tower as well. So you're looking at the same, oh, that's 60, sorry, shorter. Paul was the photographer in this case, just so you know. Credits, so. I failed to put that credit right in the slide, but I'm giving it live, so. This is standard. We knew it was going to be a part of their request. We didn't include it with them when they were looking at the site plan. We knew it was coming later, but they are looking for that tower. It's part of the communications that, the communication system in the city, typical for this kind of a station, and we do recommend approval for those reasons. A couple of requirements just listed there to make sure that we meet the codes and that the operation meets FCC and FAA requirements as well, just like we do with the other towers. Do you have any questions for staff about the tower, the communications tower?
Yes, Commissioner Sloan does.
I think I can figure out where you're putting it, but can you indicate to us exactly where it's going to be? And my concern is you've got to dance the dance between the property owners to the west and south and the helipad, obviously. I can't see on the map where exactly it's going to be located, and
Right
maybe
about
it's just me.
in here.
Okay.
I don't have a way to show you exactly
No,
there.
that gets me where I need to be.
Any other questions for staff?
Just out of curiosity, does it need to be 80 because of the topography of where that station is located compared
To
to
meet
60?
line of sight with the others, yeah, and connect up.
Makes sense.
All right, any other further questions or comments? This item also requires a public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this particular item. If you would, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring this back to the commission for further action.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Jensen.
I move that we approve the request for conditional use permit application 2024-011 by Tooele City Fire Department to allow a telecommunications facility on the subject property located at 145 East, 1000 North in the LI Light Industrial Zoning District based on the findings and facts subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated May 17, 2024.
All right, I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Jensen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Proctor. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor.
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This one passes 7-0. Moves us on to number 5 on our agenda tonight. It is a public hearing and a recommendation. It's consideration of a request by Perry Homes, Inc. to amend the land use map designation of 16.78 acre portion of property located at approximately 55 west and 3100 north from medium density residential and regional commercial to high density residential. Mr. Hall.
Thank you. This is related to the next item on the agenda as well, and a lot of the kind of discussion will be similar, so I will go through more, and probably in more detail on this first application, if that's all right. The land use map amendment is related to this larger piece of property. This is about 117 acres, this T-shaped piece of property, but that's the parcel that exists, and what they're asking to do is reassign a portion of that property from a land use designation of medium density residential to a land use density of, or to a land use designation of high density residential. That is the zoning map. In spite of I put that in there because in spite of the land use designations that underlie this, the current zoning is general commercial. That'll come up in the next application. But the land use designation is in this slide. You can see that whole thing, although all of this T, most of this T is in that general commercial zone, most of the T-shaped property is in this low-density residential, or sorry, medium-density residential land use designation. They're asking to change a portion of this property because they want to rezone from, this would be in support of a rezone from general commercial to MR20. That's basically the ask, and this is the first step in that kind of request. The general commercial, the regional commercial land use designation is all along Main Street there and doesn't actually affect this particular property, and I'll show you that in the next slide here. This is again that T that you were seeing in that other piece of mapping. These portions are not included in what's being asked in the rezoning or in the land use map designation. The part that would be redesignated, if approved, to high density residential is right here. This lot, they've created lots. They haven't been subdivided yet, but they've created areas with those lots that would show us what parts would be changed to what. These portions would stay in commercial. That's this, and they're contained in here. Oh, they're actually in this commercial zoning. So again, the land use map designation is different. But this, again, this little portion here, that lot 102, which is about 16.78 acres, would be redesignated to high density residential in support of a subsequent rezone application to MR20. Going back to this slide, staff identified a few things before we show you their concept plan that they've included. Staff identified a few things about this, the nature of this request that we wanted to go over. we do feel like the proposed change supports a larger development plan. It's Compass Point is kind of the rebrand that Perry Homes is going through with all of this property that they own in this area. This is in support of the first phase of that. That would include 2 commercial developments and this apartment complex, Compass Point Apartments, if they're successful in their land use and rezone requests. Those are good things that could create some compatibility between land use zones, or between land uses, and let us create some support for the commercial on that we want to see grow up on Main Street. The other things we've noted is that it would allow a project change to support that commercial, and that it supports a kind of a more diverse range of housing in that area. And where you have those ranges of housing, typically, you want to see the higher density housing supporting commercial and creating kind of a buffer between lower density housing like townhomes, then all the way to single family. This lets us kind of mix those housing types in and those densities in, and is generally a good planning practice. So we do see that. And then the last item has to do with moderate income housing. Andrew wanted to speak about that just a moment, if you could.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. You may or may not be aware, but in our general plan, we have a moderate income housing element that is required by the state through state law. And as part of that moderate income housing element, we are required to identify specific strategies of how we are going to, as a city, help encourage and facilitate the construction of housing that is affordable to those at a moderate income level. We have 9 of those strategies identified in our moderate income housing plan. However, we have experienced basically a dearth of application submittals. What that means is the state has kind of it's put the city in a difficult place, because much of what we do is based upon a developer such as Mr. Swain submitting an application. The city does not go out and develop properties by itself. We are required by the state to show that we are executing at least 3 of our strategies. 2 of those strategies are to rezone to higher densities that allow a greater range of moderate income housing, such as apartments, townhomes, and so forth. And then also to rezone properties adjacent to a major transportation corridor. Perry Homes has submitted this application at a very good time, because we are right in the middle of our moderate income housing report. And this would really benefit our report in regards to meeting those state mandated requirements. So I'm not here trying to tell you how to vote or anything like that. I'm just saying that this would be very beneficial to not only the general public, but also to fulfilling our moderate income housing plan requirements. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Do with that as you may, but just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Thank you. With that, the applicants did include, is it clear, first of all, before I go on, is it clear, everybody clear on where we're talking about as you look at the larger property? I know it goes out with this notice and you see that, and it seems like we're rezoning all of that or asking to rezone all of that. That's not the case. Is everybody kind of clear about where we're talking about? Okay. It took me 3 days to get clear about it, so I'm just checking to make sure I'm not alone and wondering sometimes. Okay. The applicants did include a concept plan. This is not under review for any it's not made any applications for site plan approvals or anything like that. But they did include a concept plan that they've shown to us. This is for that. Again, you can see that roundabout right here. I want to go back a slide and show you. That's the roundabout. So you're looking at that line of the Compass Apartments concept plan right there. A couple of other things to show you that they've included. This would be that lot. Again, there's that roundabout and the lot right here that would be, if they're successful in their request, this would be rezoned MR20 in support of a project like this apartment project. This is that little funny shaped one that would be commercial development, and then the larger commercial development along SR 36. So with that, this is another just a depiction. You can see a kind of a 3/4 view again with the roundabout. Tonight's meeting is all about roundabouts, apparently. You know how it goes. And you can see the apartments here. And we have a video, actually, a fly-through animation that I can put up for you. It'll take just 1 second, okay? If I do it right, let's see how I do. Okay. There's no background music, so don't get excited. It's just video. And this will just fly through the project for you so you can see kind of ground level what it would look like. You're going around the roundabout right there and going along that east line. That's my car moving past the carports, just so you know.
Signal.
You can see the commercial development up on SR 36 up at the top of the screen, now moving to the right. It kind of lets you see it in context better that way. So again, this is the land use map amendment request in support of the zoning that's coming up for your consideration as a recommendation to City Council. So, you have any questions for staff?
Any questions from the commission for staff?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. This item also does require a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open that public hearing now. If you'd like to speak to this particular item, go ahead and approach the podium. State your name for the record.
Good evening. I appreciate the time tonight. So I'm Don Ballard, and I'm representing Tooele East and Tooele West Land Companies. And we own the adjoining 70 acres north of the Perry Homes property. So if you go look at the map there, you can see that we're just north of the yellow area there. That's 70 acres. There is a 5-acre piece that we don't own that fronts on SR 36. So I'm here tonight with John Sorensen. We are both managers and part owners of this property. It was good to see Roger Baker and Paul Hansen here tonight. We have been waiting for 20 years almost for improvement in public infrastructure to move north on 36, and we're just glad we're all still alive. But we support the Perry Homes development. We think it's a great asset to the city, and it's certainly a great improvement as it comes in and adjoins our property. There are just a couple of issues that I want to bring up. Some of them have been resolved with a discussion with Paul prior to the meeting. There is a cooperative corridor agreement that is between UDOT and Tooele City and Tooele County regarding access points on SR 36. The last corridor agreement is dated in 2012. In that agreement, it said that there would be a lighted intersection at 32, there'd be a lighted intersection at 3000 North and then against the Tooele Valley Parkway at approximately 3,500 north. It also pointed out that there would be a right-in, right-out at 3,200 north. As I talked to Paul, he's indicating to me that UDOT is agreeable that this proposed road at 3,100 south in the application would replace the 30th north on the corridor agreement. He's also indicating that we would still be able to have a right-in, right-out at 3,200 north, which would only be one block from the light at 3,100. And so we just wanted to make that our comments public and for the record that that's what we anticipate moving forward. That we get the light at 31, but we also get the right in and right out at 32. The only other issue I have, if you could go back to the drawing of lot 101 and 102 and the lot that's not part of the application. If you look at lot 101 and 102, there is a road that runs north from the roundabout. As part of the corridor agreement, all the property owners have to create what they call a frontage road system because there's limited access to SR 36. So, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Paul about this yet, but can I assume that that road going north of the roundabout is the frontage road system? Okay. And we would anticipate that that road would go all the way to our south boundary and the Perry Home north boundary. And we did have a question is, does that road go in as part of the Compass Point apartment project? It does? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have an application for the site plan. Yes, there could be
Okay.
frontage roads.
The last item, and I appreciate your time, the last item is if you look at the blue area on lot 101, towards the top, there's a brown line that runs from east to west. Am I to assume that that is a road and that that road would continue west to the lot that's not a part of the application and also east through the Compass Point commercial property? Is that a road that I'm looking at?
Shouldn't go from the back.
Okay.
I can address it when you're done.
Okay. Anyway, that's all we have. Like I said, we support the development. We just want to make sure that these access points are in place so that they don't adversely affect our property to the north, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. Okay, seeing no one else approach, I will go ahead and close the public hearing for this particular item. Did the applicant want to address the commission? Give you a few minutes here.
You bet. Thank you. Commissioners, thank you for your time and your service. My name is Matt Swain. I'm the president of Perry Commercial. I'm here representing the Perry companies on this application. Happy to answer any questions tonight, but I think the pictures kind of speak for, that tells the story pretty well. We ought to put some music to it. I almost fell asleep myself just watching that, but
Very soothing.
it is soothing. Yeah, you can do some feng shui and eat some soup and go to sleep. So we're just excited about the project, that we're finally making some headway. You've probably seen that we've broken ground on the 3100 North corridor that's going down and going to feed this development among all the rest of the development to the west of this application. We've designed this apartment and tried to go to the extent to really communicate pretty clearly the intent of the project, showing you massing, circulation, parking ratios. We're not really that far away from being able to apply for a full site plan application based upon the work that we've done up front. So we went to that extent even for this application because we wanted to communicate what our intentions are and where we're going and make it very clear for the city what we're doing out there. This will be one of the first of our, call it residential, commercial applications within the Compass Point project, and really look forward to working with Tooele City. The staff has been fantastic to work with. Paul and Andrew and Jared and everyone involved has just been a pleasure to work with. So I'm happy to answer any questions whatsoever. I could speak to maybe a few things that Don brought up, and Paul, you'll probably get into that as well. But the brown stripe across the northern part of our parcels is not a road. That won't connect through there. So there will be, to the west, more circulation through subdivisions and other residential, single-family and townhome type developments. But as you can see, this will be kind of a self-contained project that will be wholly owned and managed by us, and won't have cross-access, east and west. But you're right, we'll be building 3100 North and also whatever that road's going to be called, running north and south, to provide full access from the site as a part of our site application and construction permits. I don't want anybody to get too excited about the commercial that you saw. That's all really conceptual. We're just kind of throwing boxes on the property, but it's indicative, I think, of what the market could bear on that property. I know we're not talking about the commercial, but I just don't want to get that out into the city and start chatter. So we are working on this, but it's not indicative of a particular tenant that we're working with at this time. But do feel like the market is ripe for Tooele City and new commercial projects, and Compass Point, I think, is going to spur a lot of that within your city limits. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the commission for the applicant? All right, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Looks like a beautiful project. All right, Mr. Hanson, did you want to address this as well? Anybody have questions for Mr. Hanson? I think the question was addressed, so thank you. Yes, please.
The question by Mr. Ballard was whether the access at their property would be taken away because of this 3100. 10 minutes ago, I texted Nazi Traweek with the UDOT, who access control, just to confirm previous discussions, saying if this goes in, does the corridor access agreement at the subject's property, Mr. Ballard's property, get taken away, or does it preserved? And she replied and said, no, it's preserved.
Good, thank you. All right, if there's no other questions or discussion from the commission, I'll entertain a motion on item number 5.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, Commissioner Proctor.
Moving forward, a positive recommendation to City Council for application number 2024-012, request by Perry Holmes to amend the land use map designation of 16.78 acre portion of property located at approximately 55 west and 3100 north from medium density to high density based on the findings in our staff report.
I got a motion for a positive recommendation from Commissioner Proctor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes with a positive recommendation going up to City Council, 7-0. Moves us on to number 6 on our agenda, which is consistent with number 5. It's consideration of a request by Perry Homes, Inc. to amend the zoning map designation of 16.78 acre portion of property located at approximately 55 west and 3100 north from GC General Commercial to MR20 multifamily residential. Mr. Hall.
Thank you. I'm just going to cue up the video again real quickly, and we'll just... This is the zoning map amendment that we mentioned in the previous application. I'm just going to go through a couple of different things that kind of lend themselves to this discussion. It's that same property. Again, it's all in that GC, General Commercial Zone. The rezone would affect little portion of that right there. The rest of it would remain in the commercial zone, and their plans are to develop it commercially. Looking at the difference between the sort of medium density, looking at the general plan implications of this, when you change from medium density to high density residential, you change those categories, the preferred zonings from R110 and those kind of things to MR8, MR16, and MR20, and basically you take the density from about 3.5 units per acre to between 8 to 20. So the zoning that we're talking about related to that change that you just recommended would be to MR20. That's what would support their current concept. The current concept, I think, is about 17.5 units per acre, but that can change. Again, it's a concept. So when we look at zone changes and requests, we need to look at what the zone allows. It would allow up to 20 units per acre. I just wanted to make that clear in that rambling, odd way that I just did. Allows up to 20 units per acre. The applicants, again, this is the plan. A lot of these are the same kind of things that we've been talking about already, so I won't bore you with the details. But again, I just want to make that point that it's that little portion of it. It's 16.78 acres that would be rezoned. That'll become a hard line when it's subdivision. It'll come back for a subdivision that has to happen to dedicate that road that they're working on right now and create these lots that they want to create, these development lots. Only that lot 101 that we just were looking at would be rezoned in this request. Again, there's that plan, and moving on to the next one. That's all I really have related to the zone. We kind of went through everything with the land use map amendment. Do you have any questions about how this zone fits in with that land use map amendment, why we're doing that? No? Okay. With that, I will turn it back to you guys. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right, any further questions or comments for staff? All right, this item also requires a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this one. If you'd like to speak to this item, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on number 6 tonight and bring it back to the commission for further action.
Mr. Chairman, I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for application number 2024-013, request by Prairie Homes Incorporated to amend zoning map designation of the 16.78 acre portion of the property at approximately 55 West, 3100 North from general commercial to MR20 multifamily residential based on the findings and conditions, subject to the conditions in the staff report.
Okay, I got a positive recommendation from Commissioner Sloan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is that you, Commissioner Robinson?
It was.
And a second from Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That's a positive recommendation, 7-0, going up to the City Council. Moves us on to number 7 on our agenda tonight is a review and a recommendation. This is a consideration of the Douglas Orthopedic Final Condominium Plat, a 5-unit commercial condominium subdivision of the property located at 2321 North, 400 East in the GC General Commercial Zoning District. Mr. Hall.
Thank you. This is a condominium plat, as you noted, and just to talk about process a little bit, our subdivisions have changed to where the Planning Commission makes a decision about the preliminary subdivision and sends it back to a staff committee that does the final. Condominiums are still in a mode where the Planning Commission will go through a concept phase and then needs to approve a final or recommend approval of a final plat to the council. So this would be a recommendation of the Planning Commission on this commercial condominium. As you said, it's a 5-unit deal. This is an existing structure, Douglas Orthopedic. You enter the property from the backside on 4th East. You can see it real well from the freeway, though, or from Main Street there. But the access is all from behind. There is GC zoning. It does fit in with the zoning, everything that's happening. There's some small site changes that can be made to add some parking and things like that. There's a site plan that goes with this that's being finished up right now. There is no fly-through video for this. We were thinking about doing that, but we don't have the budget for that as staff.
Kind of want that for all the things now.
All the it's a new bar, in a new bar to reach. This is the plat itself. Again, it takes that single building and divides it up into 5 parts. Douglas Orthopedic will still occupy the main part of that, and then take on partners that would take other parts of the building. Parking still works for all. That's all been analyzed and will be analyzed as part of the site plan as well. The function tonight is just to look at the condominium. There are CC&Rs in place, the condo declaration that establishes the relationship of all those owners and the private and common land. Again, just as a reminder, with condominium, these will be privately owned units, but only the units themselves. The rest of the land is held in common or limited common. There are these odd little pathways that are limited common that go to each of the units from the parking lot, et cetera. But those documents are all in place and look okay. Those have been reviewed. And this is just the another page of the plat that shows, again, those units and defines them. You only own the space that's confined within those walls. We are recommending approval. This is just the elevations of the building. Those have to be included when you're doing condominium plats as well. And we are recommending approval just with a few conditions, that it meets our codes and that the declarations can be reviewed and approved. That's already happening. And that we are able to approve an amended site plan that makes sure all those conditions are still met with parking, et cetera. Do you have any questions about the condominium plat or the process involved?
Any questions or comments from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Sloan.
This one may require Mr. Hansen's help because it's going way back into ancient history. When we originally approved this building for the existing units that are there, and I can remember dealing with this twice. I think it seems like we've done a concept plan for 5 units before too.
Yes,
but here it is. My understanding was that the parking on the west side, the loop on the west side, was there for fire and emergency vehicle access. Invariably, there's 15 cars parked, and I'm assuming it's employee parking. Is there any place for us in approving the site plan to designate that in a more thorough way?
The site plan that we'll be issuing will have that red curbed.
Okay.
We're requiring them to red curb it. They're aware of it, and they have sufficient
It bugs me
parking
on
based
behalf of the
plan.
firefighters, I guess. It's one of those things every time I drive by it.
The fire department is very well aware of it.
I'm sure they are.
All right, any other further questions for staff? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for application number 23-617, the request for final condominium subdivision approval of the Douglas Orthopedic Condominium subdivision located at 2321 North, 400 East in the General Commercial Zoning District based on the findings and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated May 17th, 2024.
Got a positive recommendation from Commissioner Hammer. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second from Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 7-0 with a positive recommendation going up to the City Council. Moves us on to number 8 on our agenda, our City Council reports.
I feel like I've been gone for a long time.
You have.
Yeah. I'm happy to be back. From our last meeting, we talked about the budget. Of course, it's budget season, so we have to approve that in June. And at this point, we are going to approve the budget as is with the certified tax rate with no tax increase. So that's the plan.
Could you amend that to include the fly-through video for all of us?
The fly-through video. Yeah, we'll work on that. I'll bring that up next meeting. We also adopted our active transportation plan. We talked about setting some rules for public comment discussion at meetings. We did approve some things that the Planning Commission had, the ordinance that talked about uncovered architectural elements, you know, like when you have uncovered stairs coming out. We approved that one. We approved the ordinance that did some other things but banned the metal shipping containers. I know that was a discussion, a little bit of a discussion here. And we swore in a new economic development director. So that's exciting. His name is John Perez. That's all I have to report. Anything for me?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Hammer.
What kind of things did you discuss and decide about public comment?
Same question.
Well, we talked, Roger presented quite a few different options that there are. We talked about a few, like continuing to have time limits, not having signs in the city council chambers. That'd be okay outside, but not in here. I can't remember a couple of others, but he's going to bring it back with the draft, and then we're going to kind of go from there. Because, yeah.
And we'll be discussing this with the commission on your next meeting, June 12th, I think. So you get to have the same conversation, and you don't have to have the same rules.
Woohoo, for you.
Follow-up question?
Yes?
Were there problems?
Well, we want to, if there aren't really problems right now. There haven't been. Maybe a couple times, but not often. But if you don't have rules, then you can't enforce anything if there are problems in the future. So it's based on requirement, basically. State law requires us to have rules if we ever want to enforce anything. So we just kind of want to have a standard, and then if there is a problem, we have
I miss
the rules.
those. In the olden days, some of the public comment. We should have had rules then.
Yelling from the audience
I
and
wish
such.
you guys would bring
Yeah.
some of the videos you saw down at the league meetings. I think that would be awesome.
We could
have it
probably share
so
some of those.
easy.
Of examples, like bad examples?
Just YouTube,
Yeah.
Los Angeles City Council.
Thank you.
Sure.
Pretty much any city council except Tooele.
All right, brings us to number 9 on our agenda is a review and approval of our planning commission minutes for the meeting held on May 8th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the minutes for meeting May 8, 2024.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Anderson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Proctor. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. Those pass.
Chairman,
And- Yes,
before you adjourn,
yes, please, Mr. Baker.
Commissioner Anderson borrowed the book and read it, and I believe you enjoyed it.
Yeah, lots of good information. And you're right, chapter 2 is awful.
So if anyone else would like to use it next, for the next month or two, I'd be very happy to hand it to you.
No one will take, I'll take it. No one else will.
Okay, great,
This is
thanks.
actually written for you. It's the same side of the brand that I use, so it's you.
I better not use it then, because I won't be able to understand it. Perfect. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Commissioner Hammer.